What's up, guys? I really quickly wanted to talk about the Mavic 2 Pro. As most of you guys know, I'm a professional drone pilot for a living. I know it actually kind of sounds like a little pretentious for me to say, but when it comes down to it, it's been my main bread and butter for 8 years. I mean, it's all I do for a living. So I figured, I know I'm a little late to the punch on reviewing this, so we're just gonna call this a professional drone pilot's thoughts on the Mavic 2 Pro.
I'm Trent Palmer. I fly drones for a living and bush planes for fun. Follow along as I journey off the beaten path of aviation.
Now, if you guys are looking for a really detailed review of all the specs on this thing, I would look elsewhere. I'm just trying to give you some quick thoughts and opinions. If you want the cut to the punch thing, this thing's awesome, go buy it. That's the short and long of it. If I could go back in time, 8 years ago, when I started my company, Copter Kids, shooting in the film industry, we were using these big, huge, single rotor RC helicopters with a Canon 7D on the front. We had to shoot in 720p, not even full HD, so that we could get 60 frames a second. And it wasn't because we wanted slow motion, we had to try to have all the stabilization points, and like only half the shots worked. Now flash forward, we've got 4K off a decent sized chip with all these features, 30-minute flight time. My old things, I mean, even our heavy lift drones only fly for 8 minutes. So a 30+ minute flight time is pretty impressive. Before I start, I do want to mention that this is a little outside of my wheelhouse. Normally what I do in the film industry, I fly a large heavy lift drone that has a separate camera system that's operated by a second person. So I don't normally do this like single person op thing, but since I started this YouTube channel, I've actually been using the Mavic line of drones a lot for my bush flying and vlog type stuff. Originally I was using the Mavic Pro, the first one. Great little drone. I was super impressed with it. Flew nice. Footage off of it was pretty nice, pretty stable. But when the Air came out, the Mavic Air, I switched to that mainly because of bitrate. The original Mavic, although the image was pretty nice, 60 megabits per second was just not enough for the 4K image it's trying to push through. So the Air had higher bitrate than the Pro, which was my main deciding factor. Also, the form factor, the Air is so much lighter and smaller, as you guys know. But again, the Air kind of had its shortcomings as well. Short flight time, the range got pretty poor. If you had another like drone around, it was like pitiful range. And also the gimbal on the Air, it was super stable, but in sport mode, you'd like max out the angles that it could go at and then your footage would shake. So it was kind of like sport mode was cool, but it wasn't that usable. Now, introducing the Mavic 2 Pro, which I'm sure all of you guys have seen. The reason I upgraded to this one was to get back the little bit of speed I was missing, the little bit of range that I was missing in the Air, and the bigger sensor. That's what was huge. And it still has the 100 megabit per second bit rate, but the big thing is this thing, at least in the D-Log mode, shoots a 10-bit color space, which is huge. So after the first couple days with it, you know, I've actually gone out and shot, I don't know if you guys saw my last video, I'll put a link here, whole bunch of aerials from this thing, and I've been pretty blown away. Now, I chose not to go with the zoom because I care about image quality more than the zoom thing. And while I think the zoom actually probably could help me a lot because I'm using it for B-roll, I end up putting a lot of post-production zooms in there, actually, you know, going in and zooming in and post on my shots. But the thing is, with one of these, the single person operation, you already just have so many tasks you're managing. I mean, not only are you trying to aim the camera, operate the camera, but you're still trying to fly a drone and place it in space. There's just a lot going on. Adding another control like zoom is just getting outside of what seemed like a smart scenario. So to me, if you're gonna add a control like that, you're gonna be pulling from somewhere else. You just be task saturated. The other thing too, this 1-inch chip has to be, without a doubt, it's going to be a better image than what you're gonna get off the smaller ones. That 10-bit, that's why I went with the Pro. The cool thing too, I think because it's a little bit cleaner of an image, when you go to do your zooms in post, like I do a lot, I don't think it tears apart as bad as the standard zoom or the old Mavic sensors would. And going back to the zoom, if you were going to try to use, say that the dolly zoom or the Hitchcock as we call it a lot, those are really cool effect, that really weird discombobulating, foreground stays the same, background expands or closes. It's a cool look, but you gotta think, if I was gonna come and try to do this right at sunset, like when we were shooting, I could go out there and try it 10 times trying to get it to work right. I'm sure, you know, DJI's got their thing that does it for you, but still, I think it's easier to just go out, get the shots you want, do the zooms as you see fit in post. At least for stuff like YouTube, there's plenty of resolution. Image quality, I mean, still-wise, they're beautiful pictures. Everything on this thing is awesome. I have played with the hyperlapse mode. It's pretty cool. The only thing that was disappointing about the hyperlapse mode is you can't choose to get a high resolution video output from it. So while it'll shoot the whole hyperlapse and then it edits it and it gives you a little video, it's only 1080p. At least on mine, I can't figure out the settings to get it out of there. And it's also in 25 frames per second, which is like a PAL standard. It's not NTSC, it's just kind of funky. And it sucks because you go shoot these things thinking it's awesome. I saved all the raw files, but then I end up with this raw image sequence that is very processor intensive to bring into a time lapse. And then you gotta go through and stabilize it 1 or 2 or 3 times to try to get the same look that this thing's doing internally. So clearly it's got the processing power. I just wish it would record into a 4K file so that I could just put that right in my videos and carry on. So the smart features, that's one thing I don't really use on these things. I'm more of a manual flyer. They seem to work pretty well. I've used the active track, just playing with it, like having it track the dog. You know, all of those things, I think for people that aren't as practiced in their stick controls and knowing what they're shooting, super helpful. For someone like me, it's not a selling point, but they're definitely pretty cool. I wish I would have done more in the test of this so I could tell you guys how well they work, but I'm sure there's other videos out there. The big thing to me is that I wanted to show you guys some footage off this thing in a real world, how I would use it. I don't want to post any raw footage. I mean, you guys can go look at raw footage, but there's no point in that. That's like a contractor to me showing you a bare framed house without the siding on it. I want to show you what a finished product looks like, what it comes off and fully edited, how it grades, the whole 9. Speaking of grading and editing, I was super impressed with how this thing holds a color grade. Like I could push it way farther than you'd ever want to take the old Mavic. Did introduce some noise, but like any kind of video that I take and put in there and do all my multi-layered, you know, stabilization, then coloring with, and then an adjustment layer for another color. No matter what you do, you're gonna start pushing the noise in the image. So I did see some of that, nothing that was like distracting or repulsive. So overall, image quality for what this is, insane. Also, this thing's got sensors like eyes in every direction. It's pretty hard to crash it, which is a good feature because when you're single opping, you normally don't have your head looking at the aircraft flying line of sight. We're normally flying in the video feed. So when you're looking down, it's nice to know that there's eyes kind of that got your back. I don't want to ramble on forever, but I did want to give you an update. I have switched to this. I think it's the best of the small drones, like period, but especially out of the Mavic line. I'm really impressed with it. The image quality is great. It's still portable. It's fast. It's at least as fast as the first one, actually a little faster, which for what I do when I'm trying to chase airplanes and that kind of stuff, it comes into play. Anyway, I hope you guys don't mind me with this. I know it's a little off subject of what I normally do, but I figured a lot of you guys shoot your own films. You guys like the drones. I figured maybe my opinion matters. I don't know, maybe it doesn't. If you guys do like this and want to see more drone stuff, make sure to comment below. I've been kind of toying with the idea of doing a like drone tips kind of series because obviously 8 years doing this is my main squeeze. I know a thing or two about how to do drone shots and maybe it could be some information that's beneficial to you guys. Also, new shirt design, got to plug that. If you guys like to fly drones, planes, anything, fly low, don't die. It's kind of just the thought on life. Yeah, you know, don't die. That's the overall goal, but fly low, have fun, enjoy it while you're here. And yeah, hope you liked this one. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Come be my wingman. See you on the next one. Peace.